All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. If anybody joins us, fantastic. If you join, make sure to make some comments. Let me know you're here. So this is part two on this five-part series on how to fire up your focus. And on our first video, I started to lay the groundwork and explaining that so many of the problems that we have can be related to our inability to focus or to focus correctly. And as a martial arts teacher with over 2 decades of teaching experience, as I look back on the reasons why people come to me, really a lot of it can be boiled down to a problem with focus. And I've often wondered why it is that martial arts helps people to focus. And I really thought about it a lot. And I'm sure that people who do come to me for my help in improving focus have an idea in mind on why it works. And I would have to say that most people will probably say it's because the discipline and the values that martial arts teaches, right? It's part of the culture of martial arts. And so that, you think about these, have these visions of a room full of students, and they're all standing in line in the crisp uniforms and standing at attention and, responding with loud yes sirs and counting in other languages and executing their techniques. And, so people think that's what helps focus. Well, the environment and the culture certainly do have something to do with it. And even though, at my school, we're not like the very super strict disciplinarians, but that's really not what does it, right? That's kind of like the icing on the cake, right? Science tells us something completely different, right? And why is it that, if you're having problems with your child, if you're a parent and you're having problems with your child being unable to focus, why is it they have a hard time focusing in the classroom, where there is this very kind of strict discipline that has to go on? And as an adult, why is it that maybe you have trouble coming up with creative solutions to things, staying on task for things? Why? Our current work environments aren't conducive to that. Our current classroom environments aren't conducive to that. And the reason is that it's all in our heads, and our feet, which is what we're going to talk about today. Our second tip is this: you got to move. Right? You need to get a move on, because our brains are actually designed to think better through movement. Okay, so think about this. Right? Whenever you had a problem that you're trying to solve, right, something that's very thought intensive, required your concentration. When you were really thinking hard, when you're trying to solve that problem, what did you do? Right? Did you stand still like a soldier, hands at your side? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Did you sit still in a chair? Well, probably not. Or did you move? Right? So that's what we do, right? When we're trying to think things through, we move, we pace, we tap pencils, right? We tap, we pat our feet, right? All of these are classic signs of someone in deep thought. Okay? So to think better, we need to move more. So a study that was conducted at the University of British Columbia had found that regular aerobic exercise appeared to boost the size of the hippocampus. Okay, that's the part of your brain that's involved in long-term memory, learning, and emotions. Okay? Studies also indicated that the prefrontal cortex and the medial temporal cortex tend to be greater in volume in people who exercise. And these increases can be gained in just 6 to 12 months of activity. Right? So the cerebellum, another part of your brain, the part which controls movement, is strongly linked to the parts of the brain that are responsible for memory, attention, and spatial perception. Right? There's actually some fMRI studies that have shown that if you give someone a difficult cognitive task, the more they start to process that task, the more the activity in the cerebellum increases. Okay, so the part of the brain that's responsible for movement is actually firing off as you're trying to process this task. Right? There's also a strong connection between our vestibular system, right? That's the stuff in your inner ear, and our cerebellum. Right? The inner ear is critical for helping us to keep our balance, right? So that's why if you get an ear infection, you feel all wobbly, right? And it coordinates our movement. And exercise that stimulates the inner ear, right? So things like rocking, swinging, twisting, jumping, rolling, they have particular benefit to our vestibular system, which in turn helps to stimulate the cerebellum, which in turn helps to stimulate the parts of our brain which are control of our memory and our attention. Right? So you start to see the connection. Right? So exercise movement helps the brain to think. Right? There's a strong connection between our movement and our ability to think. Right? But exercise also has other benefits. Okay? So exercise also increases the blood flow to the brain. Right? So the blood is carrying the nutrients. Everybody remembers this from your science classes, right? So it helps to distribute glucose. Right? The glucose is the sugars that energize our system, right? That we feed off of. Right? But also, it delivers oxygen because as glucose is utilized, there are toxic electrons basically that are floating around, and it kind of picks up the garbage, the byproduct, and moves it out so that we can function a little bit more efficiently. Right? It also stimulates the production of a protein in the brain that's called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF for short. Okay? And BDNF, it helps keep the neurons healthy. Right? So it keeps them alive. It keeps them moving and working. And it helps them to make new connections. Right? It also helps with neurogenesis. Neurogenesis is the process of the development of new brain cells. Okay? And the area that's most affected by BDNF is our old friend, the hippocampus. Right? So exercise provides stimulation to the brain, portions of the brain. Then also through, as we understand it, the physiology of things, right? Helps to increase your oxygen content, your circulation. So the circulation is also helping the health of the brain, right? So all these things affect our ability to think, right? Now, how much exercise do you need? Well, research showing that benefits can be gained with just 30 minutes of aerobic exercise, moderate aerobic exercise, 2 to 3 times a week. Okay, so so like for my school here, right, kung fu class for the kids, like our heroes class, right, 30-minute classes. So if a child took 3 classes a week, then they would be getting 30 minutes of their moderate aerobic exercise. Right? You come to the Kung Fu class, those are hour-long classes, right? So you get that moderate aerobic exercise. If you come to the Tai Chi class, a lot of people think Tai Chi is slow moving, doesn't help. Actually, there's been research that shows that an hour of Tai Chi practice gives you the same aerobic benefit as moderate aerobic exercise. Right? So this is how I see what I do as being a benefit to improving people's focus. Right? And it just kind of amazes me that sometimes when kids are having trouble with focus, the first thing parents want to do is pull them out of the program, right? And go, wow, don't you understand that this is actually probably the best thing to help with the focus? Because if you remove that physical activity, you're removing that potential for the increase of the neural connections, the circulation that is going to help to feed the cells to keep everything healthy, right? And so the worst thing you can do if a child is having focus is pull them out of a physical activity, right? So same thing with adult. If you don't have a kid, right, and you're watching this for yourself, right, same thing for you. If you're getting stressed out and having trouble focusing, the worst thing you can do is to give up your exercise regimen. And if you don't have one in place, well, you should probably start something, right? Because it's going to help to increase the health of your brain. It's going to help you to think better. It's going to help you to focus better. Okay? So I hope that this gets you thinking, right? And as you're thinking, like me, I'm thinking, and hands moving. So get a move on, right? When you find yourself having problems dealing with an issue or something you have to think about, get up, take a walk, right? That's why in last week's video I talked about the importance of when you take those breaks, when you're doing the small chunks, it's important that you get up and move, right? Don't just sit still, but get up and move, because that movement is helping to stimulate those portions of our brain that are going to help us to better think, better function, and better focus. Okay, so I hope that this has got you thinking, right? And hope that it helps to keep you moving, and if you're not already moving, to get you moving. And I hope that you're enjoying this. Please feel free to make some comments. Let me know what you think of this. We've got another video coming up next week where I'm going to go over tip number 3. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.